All right, everybody, welcome back. And this is our last installment for our pro basketball presentation. In this one, we'll cover players from the 2000s to the present. And these are the guys, many of whom that you've grown up watching. So hopefully you enjoy this presentation. Let's start with Tony Parker, who played from 2001 to 2019, mainly for the Spurs, right at the end for the Hornets, but really it's with the Spurs that his fame was achieved and solidified. He was from France. He played in the French league for 2 years before coming to the NBA. When he came to the NBA, the Spurs, absolutely stole him with the 28th pick in the 2001 draft. He was a super quick, crafty point guard at 6'2" and 185. You can see his career stats, almost over 19,000 career points, 15 and a half points a game, over 7,000 assists, over 5.5 points, assists per game. He was great. He could have scored more, but he played on some great Spurs teams, and with Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili, and so he did what a point guard needs to do. He dished the ball to the open man. He put guys in positions to score, and he scored when he needed to, and he was clutch. He helped the Spurs win 4 titles, you can see, and he was the Finals MVP in 2007. He was a 6-time All-Star as well, and a 3-time second team and 1-time third team All NBA player. But just an amazing player to lead those great Spurs teams and help them win 4 championships. So the stats speak for themselves, and he was a winner. Tony Parker was tenacious on offense and defense. The Flash, Dwayne Wade, out of Marquette. He was the 5th overall pick in the 2003 draft. He played during his career for the Miami Heat, the Bulls, and the Cavaliers. But really, with the Heat is where he did most of his great work. He was nicknamed Flash because he was so fast and quick and could get up and down a court in the blink of an eye. He won 3 championships, and he was the MVP of the 2006 finals. All 3 championships were with the Miami Heat. He was a 13-time All-Star, and as you can see, 2-time first team, 3-time second team, and 3-time third team All-NBA selection. So 8-time All-NBA. He was also a 3-time All-Defensive second team player, and I don't think he got enough credit for his defense. Honestly, he was great at stealing the ball. He was a pretty good defensive player, and like I said, if he stole the ball and with his speed and quickness, he was off to the hoop for a dunk. He was electric to watch, especially when he was at the top of his game. He was a scoring champ in 2009. He was also in 2 Olympics and won the gold medal in 2008. You can see his career stats: 22 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 5.4 assists per game. But he was fun to watch especially during his prime. Man, he was quick and fast and could jump, and he was electric around the hoop, and you knew he was going to produce a highlight somewhere along the line, and he did. So that's Dwayne Wade. LeBron James started in 2003 and still playing. LeBron James will go down as one of the greats. He was the first overall pick in the 2003 draft by the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he went straight from high school to the pros. He grew up in Akron, Ohio, and he was such a star in high school and so dominant. He was billed as the next NBA legend. So he had a lot of hype and a lot of pressure on him to live up to that hype. But it's when he was in high school that ESPN started televising high school games. They never did that before, and they did that because of LeBron James. And so I got to watch, and we all got to watch some of his high school games on ESPN, and he was just so dominant. He was a man, among boys back then, and so he went straight to the pros. He was the first overall pick. Imagine that, being a high school player and being the first pick in the draft. 6'8", 250. I said that Shaquille O'Neal on our last presentation, that Shaq was a bull in a china shop. So is LeBron James. LeBron James can just outmuscle you. He's big. He's strong. He could outleap you. Just take the ball away and go down and dunk on you. Okay, that was LeBron James. That is LeBron James. Nicknamed King James. He's won 3 titles, uh, 2 with the Heat and 1 with the Cavaliers. He started out for the Cavs, went to the Heat, won a couple titles, went back to the Cavs, helped bring them their only championship. And the Cavs are, of course, his hometown, so to speak, team, because he's from Ohio and so forth. But he now plays for the Lakers at the time of this presentation being made, and he has been not only 3-time champion, but 3-time Finals MVP, 4-time league MVP. You can see up to this point, 12-time first team, 2-time second team, and 1-time third team All NBA selection. So 15 All NBA selections. Also 5-time defensive first team and a 1-time defensive second team. So 6 All defensive teams. Rookie of the Year in 2004, 2-time AP Athlete of the Year for all sports, 2-time Sports Illustrated Sportsman of the Year. He was the National High School Player of the Year in 2003, as you can imagine, and 3-time Ohio Mr. Basketball. So sophomore, junior, and senior year, he was Mr. Basketball in the state of Ohio. He's won 2 gold medals in the Olympics, 2008 and 2012, and he is an all-around player, offense, defense, and he's, of course, has improved his outside shooting as his career has gone on. He is a beast on the court, no doubt about it. Chris Paul is a great point guard, a great player all around. 2005 to the present for numerous teams, the Hornets, the Clippers, the Rockets, and now the Thunder. He was a star at Wake Forest, the 4th overall pick in the 2005 draft. He was arguably the best point guard in the game for many years, and who knows, maybe he still is. A 9-time All-Star up to this point, an 8-time All NBA selection, 9-time All NBA defensive team selection. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2006. He has led the league 4 times in assists and 6 times in steals. And he was, just an all-around player. Can score, can shut you down on defense, can rebound the ball. He does everything. Kevin Durant was drafted with the number 2 overall pick in the 2007 draft out of Texas. He played just 1 year at Texas and left after his freshman season, and the Seattle Supersonics picked him. And of course, the Supersonics franchise moved to Oklahoma City, and then Durant went to the Golden State Warriors, and he's now with the Brooklyn Nets. Durant at 6'9", he plays small forward, and he can just shoot over people. He's just tall and lanky, but he can jump, and he is just a pure shooter. When you need a big bucket, you give the ball to Durant, and he makes the impossible shot. Has won 2 titles, won them both with Golden State on those loaded Golden State Warrior teams. He was the MVP of both of those finals in 2017 and 2018. He was the 2014 league MVP with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and his stats are eye popping, especially his offensive game. He can shoot the lights out. He's been a 10-time All-Star, 9-time All NBA team selection. He was the Rookie of the Year in 2008. He's led the league in scoring 4 times, gold medals in the 2012 and 2016 Olympics, and he at Texas, where he just played his freshman year, like I said, but he was a first-team All-American there as a freshman, and he was the National Player of the Year in 2007. He was the first freshman to win the Naismith Player of the Year award, in college. So, you can see he had greatness just written all over him, but he still had to prove it, and he has. And so Kevin Durant, no doubt about it, he will go down as one of the great shooters in NBA history. Russell Westbrook, 2008 to the present for the Thunder and the Rockets. Westbrook was a star at UCLA for a couple of years and was the fourth overall pick in the 2008 draft. He is, we talk about Dwayne Wade being the Flash. Westbrook is kind of that same thing. He's so fast and so quick, and he's been an All-Star 8 times. He was the league MVP in 2017. He's an 8-time All NBA team selection, and the first player to average a triple double in 3 straight years, 2017-18 to the 2019-20 seasons. I mean, he's just incredible player. Um, Two-time All-Star Game MVP, two-time scoring champ, and part of the 2012 Olympic team that won the gold. But Russell Westbrook is, man, he offensively he does everything. Defensively, obviously he can rebound the ball, as you can see, and he's good at finding the open guy. He's a really good assist guy as well. So you have to be all those things to average a triple double in 3 straight years. Before Russell Westbrook, Mr. Triple Double was Oscar Robertson, because he averaged a triple double during a season one time. Well, Westbrook's now done it 3 years in a row. So he just he's great on the court, and sometimes he gets a knock for being a little too selfish. Offensively, at least that was kind of the knock at the end of his time with the Thunder. But he can do everything on a basketball court that you need him to do, especially offensively. Westbrook's current teammate with the Rockets is James Harden, and he was the number 3 overall pick out of Arizona State in the 2009 draft. The Thunder drafted him. He's played for the Thunder and the Rockets. He has developed into one of the great shooters in the NBA, and will probably go down as one of the great shooters of all time. 6'5" shooting guard. Of course, he never met a shot he didn't like. He'll shoot as much as you let him, but he is, man, he can light it up from the outside. Uh, 7-time All-Star, 6-time All NBA team selection. He was the MVP of the league in 2018. Uh, you look at that Oklahoma City team when he first got picked by the Thunder, and before he went to the Rockets. Uh, that Oklahoma City team had Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. And you're thinking, man, if those guys could have stayed together. Yeah, except that there's only one basketball on the court at a time, and all 3 of those guys want to shoot it. So, but man, James Harden has come into his own with the Rockets, and he fills up an offensive stat sheet, especially scoring. Okay, he's not going to be great as far as rebounding. He's not going to be great as far as the assists go, but he doesn't claim to be. He just get him the ball and he will score. And so that is James Harden. Stephen Curry will also go down as one of the great shooters in NBA history. Has played his whole career for the Golden State Warriors. He was the 7th pick overall in the 2009 NBA draft out of Davidson, which is a smaller school in North Carolina. His dad, Del Curry, had been an NBA player and a good NBA player, a really good shooter. And Steph Curry stars at Davidson. Uh, he it was interesting because in North Carolina, think of all the big good colleges in North Carolina, good basketball colleges, University of North Carolina, Duke, and North Carolina State, and Wake Forest, and none of them got Steph Curry. Okay, um, he went to Davidson and he blossomed. Uh, he started to become a long range bomber while in college, and at 6'3", 185, he can play point guard. He prefers shooting guard, but he is a master at getting his own shot. He will come off screens and catch and shoot, but he also can dribble at a guy and then step back and jab step, and he creates his own shot oftentimes as well. He's been a 6-time All-Star twice. He's been the league MVP. He's won 3 championships with the Warriors. Uh, he 6-time All NBA team selection, just a tremendous player. He was a great player in college, like I said though too. I mean, all the North Carolina big schools blew it right by passing on him. And at Davidson, he was a second team All American in 2008 and a first team All American in 2009. And the future, who knows what the future holds for Steph Curry? But man, his range knows just about no bounds. He takes, he will probably be the greatest 3-point shooter in NBA history, barring serious injury or early retirement. That's just how great he is. He just lights it up. So uh, Steph Curry is, yeah, absolutely one of the deadliest shooters in history. Anthony Davis, 2012 to the present for the Hornets slash Pelicans, and now for the Lakers. He was a phenom as a freshman at Kentucky and left after his freshman year after helping Kentucky win a national championship. He was the first overall pick in the 2012 draft by the New Orleans Hornets, which became the New Orleans Pelicans. At power forward slash center, he's 6'10", 220. He can do everything. He can dribble like a guard if needed. He rebounds, he scores, he can shoot from the inside, from the outside. A 6-time All Star, 3-time All NBA team selection. He was um, on the All Rookie team in 2013. 3-time leader in blocks, 3-time All Defensive team selection as well. Like I said, he can do everything on a basketball court. He was and he was destined for greatness too, right? I mean, out of high school into college, and it was an easy selection. Let's just put it that way, from New Orleans to take him number one after his freshman year at Kentucky. Since he's been in the pros, he's also um, been part of a gold medal team in the Olympics in 2012. So he just a great player, and he's now playing for the Lakers, and so he's teamed up with LeBron, and let's see what they can do. And Donovan Mitchell, had to have Donovan Mitchell on here because being a Utah Jazz player, and what a tremendous uh, rookie year he had, and the future is very bright for Donovan Mitchell. Uh, 2017 to the present for our Jazz. He was a star at Louisville. Plays point and shooting guard, 6'3", 211. He's well built. He's stocky. He's strong. And slam dunk champ in 2018. As a rookie for the Jazz, he averaged over 20 points a game. Just burst onto the scene, and he really exceeded expectations. I think out of college, even though he was a stud at Louisville. Um, we kind of got him in a steal, if you will, in the draft, and so he, I think, is going to hopefully lead the Jazz to some great things during his career, and we will see about that. On this presentation, I had to put a couple of really influential basketball people, not necessarily like pro basketball stars, but guys who have made such a contribution to pro basketball that the game wouldn't be the same without them. And the first of those guys is Chuck Taylor. Chuck Taylor started working for Converse Shoes in Chicago in 1921, and he suggested to the company that they change the design of their athletic shoe to provide for more flexibility and more support for the athlete. And Converse took those suggestions to heart and made the changes, and Chuck Taylor became a legend. By 1932, Taylor's name was added to the patch on the shoe, and the shoe became the Chuck Taylor All Stars shoe. Okay, and as a representative of Converse, uh, Taylor was just a tremendous asset to the company. Um, Over 600 million pairs of his shoe have been sold worldwide. Converse dominated the athletic shoe market for many years and for decades. And of course, it's still iconic. And then in 1935, Chuck Taylor invented the quote unquote stitchless basketball that was easier to control. Remember, when James Naismith invented basketball, the ball had stitches on it like a football. And of course, if you dribbled the ball and the stitches hit the ground, of course that wasn't very easy to control the ball. So he invented the stitchless basketball that could be inflated, um, and like we know today. And well, of course, the influence or impact of that invention is without measure. Um, Taylor went on to put on basketball clinics all over the country to promote basketball, and he went overseas as well to promote basketball. And it became an Olympic sport officially in 1936 with Chuck Taylor's help. Um, the white high tops that we know of originated in 1947 for the 1948 Olympics. And then also just before this in World War II, uh, he became the fitness consultant for the U.S. military. Uh, American soldiers did calisthenics while wearing Chuck Taylor sneakers that had become the official sneaker of the armed forces. So Chuck Taylor's influence on the shoe industry and on basketball you know, is huge. By 1966, Converse had an 80% share of the U.S. sneaker market, and it really stayed that way for a long, long time. Eventually, Reebok and Nike and other shoes came in, but I mean, for a long time, Converse was it. And if you look at the old uh, pro basketball, pictures and footage, what the players were wearing, they were wearing Converse. So for his influence and for his all his contributions, Chuck Taylor was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1969, and deservedly so. Larry O'Brien uh, was the commissioner of the NBA from 1975 to 1984, and the NBA championship trophy is named for him. Uh, he, during his time as commissioner, was super influential. He directed the ABA NBA merger in 1976. And so there were no longer two professional leagues competing with each other for players and so forth like that. He merged them together, and the rest is history. He negotiated TV broadcast agreements with CBS to start putting basketball games on national TV more often. Pushed for an anti-drug agreement with the NBA Players Association to try to clean up the game. The NBA had some, and the ABA had some drug issues in the late 70s, or mid 70s, and then late 70s it was the NBA, of course, because the ABA was merged by that time. But there were some drug issues, and so he said, "Hey, Players Association, we got to fix this. We got to clean this up. It's bad for our image, and we got to do some things to turn this ship around." And he was instrumental in that. During his tenure, the league expanded from 18 to 23 teams. He brought the NBA also to cable TV, ESPN and USA networks in 1982, and introduced the salary cap in 1983. During his time as commissioner, the annual NBA attendance reached 10 million, and of course that would be surpassed in later years after him, but it had never been that high before him. Gate receipts doubled and TV revenue tripled during his time as commissioner. And also, some in game changes happened. Uh, the adoption of the 3-point line in 1979 occurred under his leadership. So, for his contributions, he was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 1991. And David Stern, one of the master negotiators, but also kind of masters of you do it my way or else, right? He was the fourth commissioner of the NBA. He succeeded Larry O'Brien. He was commissioner for 30 years, from 1984 to 2014. During his tenure, the NBA became what it is today. The average league revenue rose from 165 million a year to 5.5 billion dollars. Okay, that is just hard to wrap your head around. And that just means he was making so much money for the NBA. It was crazy. The NBA expanded from 23 to 30 teams, 6 franchises relocated, and of course 7 new teams. And you can see which teams those were. The NBA dress code started under his leadership. Not all the players were happy about it, but they've come to live with it. The Finals trophy was renamed to the Larry O'Brien Trophy, and the Finals MVP trophy was renamed to the Bill Russell NBA Finals Most Valuable Player Award in honor of Bill Russell. 4 lockouts occurred, as you can see, usually for just a short time between the owners and the players. Of course, it has to do with money pretty much every time, right? But they figured those things out, and Stern got them going again. Now, the players, they might be upset with Stern or might have been upset with him over things like the dress code and stuff like that, but they could not complain about their average salary, as the average player salary rose from 290,000 a year in 1984 when he took over to 5.7 million a year by 2014. That's the average player salary. Okay, there's players making less than that. Of course, there's players making $1 million a year, and there's players making 30 million a year. But the average salary, 5.7 million by 2014. That's incredible. The number of international players and countries airing games just went off the charts. This is one of David Stern's greatest contributions, was that the game became truly international during his time as commissioner. The number of international players rose from 8 to 92, and number of countries showing NBA games on TV went from 2 to 215. This has become a global sport. It may not have surpassed soccer yet, but the NBA and basketball in general has become a global sport, and people from all over the world are playing this. And who knows what the future holds? Who knows if we'll see players from a bunch of other new countries that we haven't seen them from before? And you just don't know. But basketball is played everywhere now, and it really took off under David Stern. So all these guys, uh, Chuck Taylor and Larry O'Brien, David Stern, and of course there are other influential characters in pro basketball history that I have not put on here, but these guys were instrumental in making the game what we know today.